Hello everyone and welcome into this presentation of the Stock Series as part, or the Challenger Series as part of the PRA Stock Series here on the PRA network. I'm going to be your host for tonight, 81. Joining me in the booth tonight is Redline, and we are coming to you from the beautiful Belgian countryside at Circuit Spa-Francorchamps, as we are in the middle of our first qualifying session. Lap 2 of however many they get through. See, the jiffy thing here is, our rules state it's only a 10-minute qualifying session. But these laps are about 2.5 minutes a lap around, not even including the out lap. So these guys are really only going to get about like maybe 2-3 clean laps qualifying. So the guys who could really make that count, who will make it through, as we are on board with the person up front right now with no times officially posted yet. I think I can W. The free agent coming in from the Wreckfest side of things, some would say the king of Wreckfest currently, especially in the PRA. Multiple championships won, one of the top race winners in PRA, making the jump over the GT7 side as he sets our initial time here of a 2:29.094. Very strong start for W here in the Challenger Series. Second, as we get cars now crossing the line for their first official lap, we'll see who gets what time to start off with. Pocono with the second best time currently of the 2:29.268. Smoke 1-4 sitting with 2:29.90. Really, if you can get 2:29 under your cap, I think that'll be enough to get into the main event, considering how hard it is to put down a consistent time when you only get like 2 or 3 shots at it. Beautiful venue we are at today, host of mini-series in real life 24-hour races, which we are running the 24-hour variant of the track tonight, which hosts a much longer pit lane than the standard variation used by many other series, including Formula 1. But the pit times especially are going to be a key thing in this race, as we have 20 laps here tonight, and these tires are not going to last too long, neither is their fuel. Another factor we may have to look at as well is potential storms coming through the area come race time. As looking through the pack as these guys make their second time around, you see those red plates on the back of W's car. That means he is a restricted free agent, meaning no team can pick him up. Pretty much for this very reason. If you have an extremely fast driver coming in mid-season, and not all the teams really had a fair shot at this driver, it's not exactly fair for one team just get to pick them up in the middle of the season to change their fortunes. Have to wait till the next off-season to do that, but W shouldn't be waiting too long to get picked up, as we have this week and next week remaining of this season, and after that the off-season period will open back up, and each team will have an official shot at picking him up. We follow W. Let's see if he can improve on his 2:29.0 as he comes out of the bus stop chicane onto the front straight. Not going to improve. Still a very solid 2:29.8, which in this lobby would still be best for third. Smoke 1-4 does improve, though, to a 2:29.35. Let's check in on the drivers behind. B-Dog's time is still a 2:38.89. So in this lobby you see a group of Chevys and a group of Fords. It is the top 4 drivers from each manufacturer between the 2 qualifying series that will make it into the main race tonight. 12 spots available, and then 2 wildcard spots after the 12 drivers making it for each manufacturer is decided. As we have about 2 minutes left in this session, most of the guys on this track will probably only have a chance for one more clean lap, if that, come the end of the qualifying session. So the lap they're on right now really has to count for a lot of these guys to feel comfortable making it in. W is pretty secure. Pocono is pretty secure, those being the top Ford and Chevys. Smoke 1-4 sitting in third in the Chevy. And then from there, we're going to have to see how these guys fare on their last lap around. Most of these guys sitting with a low, or a high 229, low 230. As I said, if you get a below 230, I think you will be comfortable to make it into the race tonight. But we'll have to see as we close out in the last minute here. So, we see Pocono setting a purple sector out of the second sector, coming out of Stavolo onto the long, winding back straight of Spa, heading to the bus stop chicane. Can't necessarily call it a straight, as turns 17 and 18 here, as you see through Blanchimont, those are considered corners, but, I mean, they're pretty much full speed if you take it right, so in essence, it acts like a long back straight as Pocono comes through the bus stop of turns 19 and 20 on to the starting line straight. Let's see if he's going to jump W for that pole. He's not going to get it. 2:29.5 as time just runs out on him. W's going to hold the top spot in this qualifying session, assuming no one else gets there in time. Smoke 1-4 potentially getting a little more lap through. Let's see, Biaku and On a Mission side by side here on the front straight. Any of these guys going to improve their times? Neither of them are improving. Vito across the line, and Black Sierra is the last one to have a chance at making an impression on that time, as he now comes through the bus stop chicane. Looks like he's a bit off pace though, so as he runs wide out of the bus stop as well, he's not going to improve. Well, he is going to improve on his own time, jumping Wolfpack into 8th. We're going to have to see if that's enough to get him into the main show. Not sure if it's going to do it, but we will see. This is going to be a trickier race. Redline, do you have a copy?
I do have a copy.
What are your thoughts? Do you have any thoughts so far coming into this race?
Well, my thoughts here at this track is, it's a very difficult track with a lot of long sweeping corners here. But we also have to mention that the turns like turn 1 here has a very big braking zone right before it actually gets to the actual corner. It's going to cause a lot of more overtakes, a lot more passes. Also, alongside with that, you also got the chicane right before the start and finish line. The chicane is also, remind you, also another break point. Right between, in that start finish line is right between those two big braking zones of here at Spa. And it's going to cause a lot of overtakes. It's going to cause a lot of hard racing. It's going to be very difficult, very fast, really great racing here.
Well, I can certainly agree with that, as we're now going to see how the second lobby is going with their qualifying. As it appears they themselves are about to start their qualifying session here, as 10 minutes are on the clock. It looks like we are ready to go qualifying here in this second lobby. Featuring some Toyotas, most Toyotas actually, and some other Ford drivers who got split up between the two lobbies. So it's going to be interesting to see the team play at work here on this track, especially for qualifying, since slip is going to be very important to really improve lap times here moving that dirty air in the car in front can give you a very good run and improve your lap time, probably by a tenth or a few tenths, I would imagine, especially if you get teamwork through that long Kimmel straight at the top of the hill. That is
Absolutely.
going to be a very key part of this track, and teamwork working together between different teammates.
I also want to mention this track actually acts a lot like Daytona, as we saw probably the first round here during the series. There was a lot of team drafting, but here at Spa, like that same concept here is about working with your teammate, trying to make sure that you don't screw up your teammate's time, but also providing a drive for your teammate to make sure he gets a fast time here at Spa.
Right, as that is a very key point, that though you might be thinking on that comparison, how are you going to compare Spa and Daytona? One's a long oval that you just turn left at, and the other is one of the most iconic technical tracks in the world, running through an elevated hillside. Well, as he said, with these long straights, especially as we followed here with Matt Ward, onto what I'm just going to call the long back straight, even though it's not really a back straight with your sweeping corners through Blanchimont to the bus stop. This section and the Kimmel straight at the top of the hill past Eau Rouge and Radillon, both of those sections really act as long drafting zones. So in that sense, Daytona, especially when it comes to qualifying, working together to improve your qualifying lap time, is really going to be a key here. As 2 minutes are through and we get everyone onto their first flying lap. Boring Peppers leading the charge, one of our fellow commentators and another free agent in the Cheetos Toyota. Pretty strong showing on the track himself the past few weeks, with Tyro in second, 11th, one of the challengers for the championship, in third, and Matt Moore, the fellow Canadian, right behind him in fourth. As I was going to do a brief few moments ago, let's take a brief breakdown of the standings coming to this week and the implications. So, as I mentioned, 11th, who we're going to be on board with right now in the 69 car, he is leading the championship standings right now with one race win for MRC Racing, 45 points, but not too far behind him in the other qualifying lobbies, Pocono, with 43 points in the board. Those two guys are pretty much in their own world in this Challenger Series standings currently, with third place being B-Dog, also Pocono's teammate, with 28 points. So that is a 17-point gap between third and first, with Pocono only 2 points behind 11th. It's going to be a race between these last two races to see which driver can pull out all the stops. Pocono has 2 wins on his name, but 11th performances have been way more consistent, including a race win of his own, so that is why he is currently leading the point standings. I will make a mention, though, that with B-Dog and Pocono at the top of these standings, second and third for NTG Elite Racing, their team is doing a really good job in the constructors' standings for the team championship standings. As we're going to see here, Boring Peppers coming through the bus stop chicane, about to make his first official lap on the board, and the first lap for people to beat. His benchmark is going to be a 2:29.5, with Tyro coming in next with a 2:38. Matt Morg is going to come through with a 2:31.0. Theme for Speed is going to cross the line with a 2:34. 11th is the driver who set the fastest time out of all of those so far. His time going with a 2:28.74. So a very strong time for him to start off. 11T, as you might see, after the Kimmel Straight, has a purple first sector, getting that slipstream off of Tyro in front. Not necessarily teammates, but he's taking advantage of the cars around him. That is one of the reasons why the wisest drivers are some of the ones who will get up to the top of the standings easiest, because it's not always about the driver skill. Of course, being the fastest on the track helps, but also having a great race awareness, both in qualifying and during the race, is going to be a key to success here in the PRA. See, the one problem here that might be backfiring for 11T is he's clearly looking to be faster than Tyro at the current moment. So now it comes a question, is Tyro holding him up at all? Right now he is getting that slip 7/10 purple time. He might hit a 2:27 here. He's on pace to do it. Let's see if Tyro gives him any trouble through Blanchimont. Tyro is going to defend here. Obviously, 11T is his teammate. 11T is going to run wide and probably pick up a penalty for that for his efforts. Unfortunate for 11T. I'm sure he's probably frustrated, as there you go, 5/10 on the board. He's definitely going to be frustrated with that, considering he was on such a good lap. But obviously Tyro is going to make it a tough time for him. But now look, it's pretty wise for him to let Tyro go a little bit, since now he's going to try to pick up that slipstream yet again on the Kimmel Straight. But I'd imagine the time lost back, like slowing himself up right at the start line, that might be, I don't know if that was the best decision, honestly. But we will see how it works out for 11T. Boring Pepper's still holding second on the leaderboard. Trent in third, and for 11T, honestly, regardless for 11T, he's making it into the final cut. He might be on pole. Actually, I will take a look and see. Yeah, as it stands, he would be on pole. Boring Peppers, as it stands, would be on the first row alongside him, with W holding third place, excuse me. Let's take a look at someone who may be on the cusp here. So, we'll ride along the board with Tyro, actually. He was giving 11T a run for his money there through Blanchimont. Now he is going to be on the lap of his own, hopefully getting a hot lap for himself. Making his way through the long, sweeping left-hander of Pouon, turn 12, into the S's here, turns 13 and 14. Let's see what his pace is looking like right now, as he makes his way up to the end of Sector 2 in Stavolo onto the long, sweeping back straight. 2/10 off of his fastest time, so definitely going to be a rough look for him, but I think he still might make the cut with a 2:30.07. Some of the other drivers here, Boring Peppers, as we close out to the end of this qualifying session with less than a minute to go. Boring Peppers looking to get probably one more lap on the board, making his way around the bus stop onto the front straight. He's on a pretty good lap here, but just a little bit off his fastest time. Trent overcooks it into the bus stop, but he's sitting pretty comfortable in third place. Matt Moore is going to work his way around Trent with a little bit of loose back end syndrome, as this qualifying session will come to an end with 11T on top, Boring Peppers in second, Tyro making the jump into third, Trent in fourth, Fiend for Speed in fifth, Matt Morg in sixth. So let's take a look here. These guys, I believe 11T is, yes, 11T's in Toyota, Boring Peppers in Toyota, Fiend for Speed is the Toyota, and Matt Morg is in the Toyota. So those will be your four qualifiers from Toyota. As for Ford, we will get a combination from the other lobby when we have the official starting order. from B-Dog once we get everything situated. Now, this qualifying session is over and the other one is over. Just waiting for our official results and we will be good to go racing here. 20 laps at Spa. Redline, how are you doing? Are you back yet, or?
I am here. I'm here.
Hello.
Oh wait, did you pause the stream?
No.
Oh.
I'm welcoming you back. I'm welcoming you back. Do you have any thoughts of your own? The qualifying sessions are over. It looks like 11T, our championship standings leader, will also be taking the pole for this race.
Well, to be expected, I would never expect anything less from 11T here at Spa. For him to actually come out, be dominant all the time here at Spa. I could also see another battle between Pocono and 11T here at Spa as another rerun of what we saw last week at Watkins Glen.
Indeed, shootout between them. We've got quite a few shootouts for our different series here. We saw a great fight last night in the Sportsman series. That fight between their two championship leaders, Rum Runner and Phil. Very exciting end to that race. I'm sure I would recommend everyone go check out that race. If you have not already, be sure to keep in touch with all of our action here at the PRA Network as we're closing towards the back end here of the Stock Series, the inaugural season, with the Sportsman Series on Tuesday nights, the Challenger Series here on Wednesday nights, and the Elite Series tomorrow on Thursday nights. So if you want more action from the PRA and just to keep in touch with every series going on, do not forget to subscribe to the PRA Network, and liking and commenting on all of our videos helps for engagement. Spread the love, get our word out there, and continue to grow our wonderful league. As we're now going to try to get into the main race lobby, now that we're getting everyone situated with qualifying order and situated into the main race lobby so we can get started. Welcome back in. I am back after taking a brief voice break here as we get everyone into the main lobby, running a few laps before the main race starts. One thing to note, taking a look at our weather, indeed, looks like we're going to have a little bit of rough conditions through the middle of this race if the radar serves correct. So, it should be started under sunny conditions, but expect the weather to gradually fall off as the race goes on. Speaking of weather and this venue we are at today, especially a weather-prone region of the world here in the mountains of southern Belgium, we have... Let's see, so... Yeah, if you're unfamiliar with the Spa track, obviously a very famous track, especially for the F1 world, especially weather coming into play, as you may have seen a couple of years ago, I believe it was the 2021 season, where the race got completely rained out. So weather here can definitely be unpredictable. So we're going to see how tough the conditions can get here for our drivers here tonight. And Redline, I think Redline has informed me he has some racetrack facts to share of his own.
So welcome everyone to Circuit Dave Spa Francorchamps, or I probably screwed it up, but
do you need me to do? I am from a French-speaking region of the world, so do you need me to do the French words?
Go ahead.
Welcome everyone to Circuit de Spa Francorchamps, as we are here in the southwest region of the Belgian countryside.
The location actually in Belgium is Stavelot, Belgium. We're here at the Spa with the track having a capacity of 70,000 total seats. The length of this track is a 4.352 mile race course, with left being 9 to the left and 11 to the right, making up 20 corners total here at Spa. This track originally opened in 1921 to host endurance and F1 racing. The original layout was actually 25 turns with 9.310 miles here at Spa. Also, another fun fact with this track is that it's located in the Andrennes Forest. Due to being in the Andrennes Forest, this track, like AYDY has originally said, is very prone for a lot of rain and a lot of weather to be impactful on the racing here, making it a very historical race for a very good racing in multiple times of weather.
With that information in mind, the history of this track really runs deep, so it's very exciting to see our appearance here. First of all, just to see this track in the game, I think that's exciting to me. But second of all, to see us be able to run this track here for the PRA, it's going to be a very exciting time here as a breakdown of the track itself. So, on the very short start straight, as you may have some guys backing up into the bus stop chicane for the actual start, but you have the La Source Hairpin as turn 1 with its deep corner banking. You're seeing quite a lot of lunges into the inside there, especially probably on the race start, but side-by-sides can be risky coming out of there, as coming up through the hill to the end of the pit road here. Since we're running the 24-hour version, the pit road will be separated up the hill. But speaking of that hill, going into the complex of turns 3, 4, and 5, one of the most iconic sections in racing, through the complex of Air Rouge and Radion, turns 3, 4, and 5, the long sweeping, pretty much flat out if you have the guts to do it, up the hill and through to the Kimmel Straight, through the small kink for turn 6. Then you have the Lacombe section with turns 7 and 8, and then 9 sending you down the hill to Rivage, turn 10. Interesting fact about turn 10, that is the 180-degree, almost hairpin at far end of the track. The banking there, compared to most corners, is actually negative camber banking, so it makes it a lot tougher to get through the corner. Usually banking is your friend, but through turn 10, banking is not going to be your friend, so it's going to be very easy to run wide and compromise your run into No Name Corner, turn 11, down through there, further down the hill to the sweeping left corner, pull on into the S's section of turns 13 and 14, and then the right hand on 15 to Stavilo, turn 16, returning to the original variant of the track with that long back straight through turn 17 and turn 18 of Blanchimont, down into the run into the final chicane of the bus stop chicane, turns 19 and 20. That corner's been verified quite a few times over the years, or it's been changed quite a few times over the years. As the reason it has that name of the bus stop, you might think usually most corners you have, like Watkins Glen last week, their bus stop section, it looks like a bus stop. Well, the old spa layout, one of the old spa layouts at least, that section used to look like a bus stop, but now they changed it to the tight right-left chicane that you have present today, including in the middle of the chicane you have the pit entrance. So it might be hard for some drivers to get onto that pit entrance, considering you might have someone on the inside. If you need to pit, you have to be very aware of where you are on the track and when you need to pit. And with a short run to the finish line, your exit out of that turn 20, the second half of bus stop chicane, that's going to be very key on your setup into turn 1 yet again. And that's your breakdown as rounding out one full lap of circuit to Spa-Francorchamps.
Excellent said, AYDY. This track is full of surprises, like he said many times here as he described the track. This track has a lot of surprises, can catch any driver off guard if unprepared for any outcome that's possible here at Spa.
The outcome indeed, as we already see through the middle of this practice sessions. We are about to get going on the official race, but clouds start to come in a little bit, so we're already going to see the tendency for this race tonight. 20 laps. The storms may come in about 10 minutes in through this race, at least that's what it's forecasted to do. So we will see for sure how this race will go. Considering that, what would you expect to see with potential pit strategies here tonight?
Well, me personally, I can see a lot of different pit strategies. Like a popular pit strategy, as I've been watching over the couple of rounds here, is that a popular pit strategy here is like to take no tires and just don't pit at all. Try to get in front of the pack. Try to get more clean air. Try to see if they can get more done faster with the clean air that's presented before them. Other people who are faster, maybe are slower, also might go for a two-stop strategy to pit halfway through, get some tires, get maybe some fuel if they're a little low, push their cars to the absolute limit here at Spa. But I believe the most popular strategy here at Spa will be the two-stop strategy, especially if there's a factor of rain. Don't forget about the factor of rain here at Spa. Since we are in a forest here at Spa, it's very likely for people to actually run into rain here at the track. Or it could rain actually at half of the track, be also dry at the other half. It might be just better to be on the softs, or might be better on the slick tires, rather than swapping to the intermediates or the wets here at Spa, with half the track being wet, half of the track being dry, and the difference could be just so significant that the dry tire could eat out the wet tires, or vice versa. Or it might be the safer option, like I said, to take the two-stop or one-stop option, trying to delay the softs as much as possible until maybe there might be rain coming, then swap to those wet tires a little later to get a more upper hand advantage here at Spa. It's really, here at Spa, just a roll of the dice to see what can be best done.
I think the biggest takeaway from everything you said there, in my opinion, would be the very last thing you said, roll of the dice. I think that is going to be a main part of what comes down with this pit strategy here today, as it depends. We know for certain that, these storms are going to be pretty much unavoidable. It looks like it's going to be pretty heavy downfall. So, looks to be about 10 minutes into race time. So, with that considered, I think the most important part of this race may be getting out early with these soft tires, pushing them to their absolute limits to see how far you could stretch these tires out before you get to the point where you have to pit. Another astute observation, though, is the fact that at some times there may be parts of the track that don't receive as much rain as other parts of the track. So I think it'll be a more curious question to see. I'm not sure if the slick tires are going to hold up on certain parts of the track, but it may be a question if some drivers take intermediates or wet tires.
It's really about AY. It's really about who's more brave to be on the wet with the slick tires. Who has the ability, who thinks they have the ability to be able to hold their car, hold their own on that wet surface and those slick tires. It could be drastically horrible for them, but also could be a lifesaver because they'll be on that dry tarmac later on the other half of the track, and just really makes up a lot of time here at Spa.
I think it'll be a very interesting thing to weigh for each driver. We could see, honestly, there are 14 drivers here tonight. We could see 14 different pit strategies. I think it'll be really coming down to that and see who comes up, basically who makes the best call here. For some drivers, that call might be to go to wet tires. For some drivers, that call might be to stay on slicks. I think that would be a really gutsy move, but who knows, especially going into the later half of the race as the track may start to dry up with rain clearing out, and as mentioned, some parts of the track may be drier than others. We're going to see who takes the risk. Go for it.
I want to make one last point here. Even though that there's all these variables going to Spa, what really is most important is the driver's skill, and that's what stays consistent throughout the race here. It's who is most versatile at Spa with the variables of rain.
Indeed, we will see. We saw yesterday with the the Sportsman Series race at Tsukuba. It was a different car and different track, but with that race, rain really played havoc there with how hard the rain came down, and we're looking to see similar forecasts here tonight with heavy rain and downfall. So I really think the rain could cause havoc on these drivers, and again, depending on what call they make, some drivers might make the right call and still mess up, and some drivers might make a mistake on their pit strategy but are beneficiaries of other people's mistakes. And we might especially see with the long laps here, some drivers might get tired of all these different corners, being the longest track we've had on the schedule so far with 20 corners, each corner with their own set of challenges and traits. It's going to get really tiring through 20 laps here, so we may see a few mistakes, some drivers come out, and possibly even a caution or two being brought out, so that might change everything. Even though pit road will be closed under yellow flags, the thing is that will still bring the whole pack together and pretty much bring everyone back to square one, so that could really change the dynamic of the race. And we even saw in the Challenger Series, one or two drivers even started on wet tires, expecting the rain coming. So some drivers might take the opposite gamble.
It very well could be that way. Well, it's all up to chance. We have no idea from here on out what the weather's going to do, but I will guarantee you it will be a really great race here at Spa.
I agree. That's the one thing I think we can agree on. The racing here, especially the past few weeks with Watkins Glen and yesterday's race at Tsukuba, the racing's always spectacular, but especially these past few weeks has really been picking up, so I'd expect no different here. Especially, not only will the dart throw be at pit strategies, but I think it'll also be a dart throw betting on who wins this race. Since we can talk about 11T and his consistency throughout the season, as well as we can discuss the points battle between himself and Pocono. But you can easily see one of those two drivers, or both, making a mistake, opening the door wide open for any other driver to take advantage tonight and possibly boost their points in the standings, since though the race for first may be pretty much wrapped up for all but two drivers in this starting lineup, every other driver in this series is looking to fight each other for the best positions they can get. And really, we can take a look and see that anyone in the top 10 or top 10 to like 15 could easily get third by the end of the season. So the points are really close.
Well, looks like we're lining up for the grid here as we are now going to be approaching the start-finish line. Well, in terms of like as they grid up here. But they're going to be lining up here as we have to go through this whole track Spa. But I'm sure that'll be given a lot of time for them to really warm up with those tires and just get a feel for the track on those dry conditions before the race actually starts.
I will point out we started the race here on after turn 1, but the official start-finish line is past the bus stop chicane in that small straight with the pit lane before La Source hairpin. So we do see 11T on the pole with Boring Peppers alongside them, as we will now take a breakdown of the starting lineup here at Spa. So starting on the pole is 11T in the 69 Toyota with his time of a 2:28.7, the only driver to get sub 2:29 in qualifying for the Challenger Series. Second place is going to be Boring Peppers, lining up on the outside of him in his 92 Toyota. The free agent looking to make a mark here and improve on his already strong season. Third place, I think I can W. Brand new to the GT7 series, definitely not a new face in PRA, but the legend himself making his way over to GT7, already making an impact here, showing his speed translates beyond the Wreckfest world with his dominance there. In fourth place is Tyro in another Ford, the number 60 Sunny E car. Fifth place is Pocono. Sixth place is Smoke 14. Seventh place is Trent. And eighth place is On a Mission. All of those drivers outside of 11T I just mentioned in the top 8 ran a sub 2:30 lap time. So all those guys in the 2:29s, very impressive for them still. Ninth place is Fiend for Speed. 10th place is going to be massive. 11th place is Joystick Justin. 12th place is Matt Moore. 13th place is B-Dog. And 14th place, just making it in, is Biaku. Welcome in everyone in the chat as we see so far 14 people here live. Anyone who's not subscribed to the channel already, please do to stay caught up with all PRA action, as we're going a bit slower than need to be honest, in my opinion, on this first lap. But I know a lot of these guys are going to be saving their fuel on this first pace lap and their tires as well. But yeah, the rain's going to come into play here, especially getting through about first 10 minutes or so of the race. And I see in the chat we've got Perry Wolfpack, welcome in Rum Runner. I see you're feeling a little bit of advice for these drivers from yesterday. Don't make the mistakes you do. No, Rum Runner, very strong contender in the Sportsman Series. Definitely an exciting end to that race though, with Rum Runner putting in a very entertaining and strong performance at Tsukuba, so be sure to go watch that race if you haven't already. Just like this one at Rainfest, definitely in the puddles, in the mud, all of the above, pretty much swimming at this point. I did not know race cars could be aquatic, but I don't know. I mean, Redline ate fish, so he got some salmon before this, so he should be pretty familiar with aquatic things. As we round out the bus stop, and we go side by side with 11T, leading us on the front straight into La Source, as we are green, green, green.
Boogie, let's go! Spa Racing here!
As 11T holds the inside into the Source, we got like a 4 wide. Fiend going way around the outside. 4 wide through the Source, turn 1 to be expected, as Fiend is now out of the race. 11T holding a big lead, Boring Peppers in second, W in third, pretty much single file. We see behind the 2-3 wide into Eau Rouge. Don't do that, guys. You're gonna wreck. You're asking for it if you go too wide up the hill through Eau Rouge. But everyone made it work this time. There's got a lot of bumping and banging, side by side drafting here up the Kimmel Straight. We're gonna see who takes the jump into the next section of S's. As everyone's side by side, behind each other for the most part. Trent and Joystick Justin side by side. We're gonna see who could get it done there. Matt Moore making the move on Tyro down the hill into turn 10. Matt Moore is going to make the dive on the inside. Let's see if he can keep it. He's going to run wide a little bit, as we mentioned, the banking here at turn 10. Going to be a rough challenge. Tyro making the move on Trent as we make it through No Name Corner down to Puan. We're back to back to back, single filing. 11T really trying to take this gap for himself. Pouring Peppers in second. W filing through in third. Pocono running wide in fourth. May pick a penalty for that. We'll see. As running wide through that section may be pretty easy to do and pick up penalty. We have B-Dog looking for a move around the outside of Joystick Justin. He's going to get it done. What a move by B-Dog. As we now see B-Dog making the push up to Pocono. His teammate Joystick Justin make the dive on the inside to B-Dog. He's going to get the move done just about. We're going to see who gets the run onto the long back straight. So far, Pocono still looking at his rear view mirror to see these guys behind with B-Dog and Joystick Justin still side by side. Matt Borg and Tyra also side by side. Now everyone filing in behind each other to pick up some slipstream between everyone else. Blanchimont also pretty much full speed if you have the guts to do it and not run wide. Into the bus stop. Let's see who makes the first moves here. Joystick Justin and Matt Moore getting side by side. No one can get it done. Tyro looking for a beautiful undercut on Matt Moore. He's going to look to go side by side, but Matt Moore is going to have the leverage into La Source. We're going to see who gets it done out of the turn 1 hairpin. As it looks like they're still side by side. Justin's going to hold off Tyro, though. Tyro has a pretty good run out of La Source, though, through turn 2, up to Eau Rouge and Radion. We're going to see if he makes the move in. He's going to do the smart decision and file in behind Justin here. Up the hill. Not taking a penalty as he keeps his tires on the curbs. As we yet again another choo-choo train up the Kimmel Straight. 4th through 9th, I would say this is, I believe. Yeah, 4th through 9th. Justin sizing up a move on B-Dog. Looks like B-Dog's going to give him the space for it. Tyro's going to try to make a jump. Pocono runs wide. Let's see. B-Dog's going to get past his teammate. Justin's going to make the move as well as we got 3 wide here through turn 9 down to the run of turn 10. Pocono gets pushed back all the way to 8th as Matt Morg and Tyro make their way through. And now Trent even going to have a look as they might go 3 wide here through Rivage. Matt Morg runs wide. Trent gets the 2-for-1 special into turn 11. Starting to go downhill. Joystick Justin, Tyro now side by side as well. A lot of action to start this race, and that's to be expected with the rain coming in soon. A lot of these drivers trying to take as much advantage of the soft tires as they can before they're forced to change onto wet conditioned tires. As you have Matt Moore running wide through Fuon. Now we see Trent sizing up Tyro. A little bit of action there. You have 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th pack of red cars and Biaku all sizing each other up as well. We're going to see who gets it done through here. No one really losing their composure or cool just yet, but this is just lap 3 of 20. So, you do see the sky starting to darken up a little bit. We may see some rain coming in here very soon. You see Tyro and Joystick Justin side by side through turn 17 and into Blanchimont. We're going to see if they stick through full speed here. Joystick Justin makes it through. Tyro behind, but Justin runs a little bit wide. These green outside curves are going to rain havoc, losing a lot of grip for drivers as Joystick Justin falls victim to it there. Falling behind Trent and losing the fight with Tyro. Now Trent sizing up Tyro through the bus stop. What a beautiful move. Served him up on a salmon platter as Trent moves up to 5th place, now chasing down B-Dog. Let's check in on the top 3 real quick. W picking up 5/10 penalty of Pouring Peppers in behind him. 11T looking to check out. But we do see now the skies really coming in to be dark and cloudy and foggy as we see the rain starting to come in now very lightly. So we're going to see, possibly going into lap 5, we're going to see who makes the first dive into the pits.
I would also like to point out that I think Again W has accumulated a 0.5 penalty here up in second place in front of Boarding Peppers. Boarding Peppers also giving quite a good run for his money, and you can see is that it's very dark out here at the Spa, causing a lot of light being drawn out of the track and stuff, and it looks like it might rain here, and I can predict about a couple laps here at Spa.
As we do still have this fight for 5th heating up as Trent has to fall back into 7th as Joystick Justin and Tyro get past him through Ravage and No Name down to Guan. We see all the people here on the hill. A lot. You talked about the attendance levels here at Spa. A lot of those seatings come from just sitting on the hill, but I'm not sure how comfortable that would be in the rain. And neither is it for these drivers. At least their cars have tops, unlike last night's Sportsman Series. We will possibly invest in some high-tech roofing for those cars, potentially. We will see. Joystick Justin looking to make the move on B-Dog. B-Dog looking for the undercut, though. Let's see if he gets it done as a run through the back straight on turn 14. Turn 16, excuse me, is Stavelo. B-Dog trying to hold off Tyro. With the rain about to come in, do you see some people maybe making the jump this time by, knowing they might not survive another lap here at Spa with how long the circuit is? Or do you see them probably trying to go around one more time? We're going to see who makes the jump. B-Dog makes the mistake onto the green curbing. Tyro's going to look to take advantage into the bus stop. Smoke, interesting move for Smoke. They're trying to avoid contact with other drivers, and he's going to have to fall to the back. Possibly just missing the braking point, which is very easy to do at the bus stop chicane, to be fair, with how long that run is to the corner. Tyro taking defensive into turn 1. Trent going to look for the undercut. Not going to have this. Tyro plays very good defense. B-Dog runs wide onto the yellow sausage curb outside of turn 1. Tyro takes 4th. Trent sizing up 5th. We have Matt Morgan Pocono side by side for 7th and 8th. Matt Morgan is going to take the position. Pocono files in behind. We have a 2 wide with Trent and B-Dog through El Rouge and Radion onto the Kimmel Straight. B-Dog is going to be the one behind, getting that slip from Trent and Tyro, with Matt Morg and Pocono side by side behind them for 7th and 8th, as the sky really darkens up now. It's probably, we're about to see some rain drop any second now, as the clouds look very menacing. Matt Morg setting a purple first sector as proof of the power of the draft on the Kimmel Straight. One of the longest straights in motorsport, at least in major professional racetracks. See B-Dog run wide.
The leaders here have actually gotten their windshield wipers, if you haven't noticed yet, are actually starting to turn on, meaning that rain has officially hit the track on the back portion of the track.
So as we see this as well with the fight for 6th, 7th, and 8th, with Pocono's on, but not before he gets the move done on Matt Morgan and B-Dog. 2-for-1 special through No Name, as now you see cars really starting to lose grip here as you see them really struggling through the turn 13-14 complex with 4th, 5th, and 6th. These soft tires really taking a struggle. I'm going to take a look at some of the tires. I think everyone's going to be on racing softs to start this race as we filter through the pack to check that. Yeah, no one's taking a wet tire. That would be a pretty dumb move to start the spot. But we're going to see now who jumps into the pits. We're going to start with 11T. Up here, you see his brakes boiling red. 11T does not head in, though. That braking point into the bus stop, really challenging. You see the wear on 11T's brakes. W does not go in. Corey Peppers does not go in. Check on the race before the 5th. Trent side by side with Tyro to the bus stop. And Tyro's going to come in along with Pocono and Joystick Justin. You see Trent and Matt Moore continue on as a lot of the drivers in the back now making the jump in. We're going to see if the early jump in was the right call compared to the leaders, as they're now going to be stranded for 2.5 minutes here at Spa, as the length of this track really plays a factor. Though I will say, one of the longest pit roads we'll have this season, so that may also be another factor into pit timing.
I would also like to point out that here at Spa, I think the people who went in here right now have made an excellent choice to come in early, get those wet tires on the car a lot earlier than any other tire, like they're doing it a lot later than the leaders here at this track. Because if you actually sit on this track a lot more with those slick tires with this horrible rain on this track, it's going to cause a lot of problems here for your car. It's going to lose you time. I've from first-hand experience, that is one mistake that you should never make here at Spa, is to stay out too early or stay out too late rather, and just lose time because you're on the slick tires.
Speaking of the drivers on slick tires, especially turn 10 is a real nightmare to get through the reverse camber and slick tires on a wet track. But you see Matt Morgan, Trent try to fight through, as this is really the only live battle on the track currently with these slick tire drivers. But we will check out, Massive is the first to come out of pit road, so he wins the race out of pit road. Pretty nice for him as he's on intermediates. Tyro on the full wets. Pocono side by side with Tyro out of the pits on the intermediates. A run side by side with these guys onto the back straight. You see Joystick Justin's on intermediates, B-Dog on intermediates, Mission on the full wets, and Biaku on the full wets. As we see Massive struggling with the intermediate tires immediately coming into turns 7 and 8. Yeah, he's having a really tough time with those intermediate tires.
Seems like the wet flat tires might have actually been the play here at Spa.
As we talked about the unpredictable weather, all of a sudden it is raining absolute buckets. So that change was real drastic. You see just the grip comparison, even between intermediate and wet tires, you see here with Pocono and Tyro. Pocono losing all grip as W is around on the slick tires. 11 teammates jump to the pits, but W completely lost control of the car. So did Boring Peppers. So a lot of the wet tire drivers will be catching up these top three, as all of the top three, 11 seats into the pits, but W and Boring Peppers both made massive mistakes on the soft tires. You can see Boring Peppers really creeping this car into pit road. So you see Trent really struggling as well. Wow, this is basically slippy slide roller coaster here on these slick tires. These guys made the wrong choice. They got stranded on the terrible tires in these conditions. So their race is pretty much over already, barring a caution.
Like I said, here at Spa, it claims more victims here. Like I said, from first-hand experience, it's always the wrong choice to pit late and push your luck. Always with Spa, pit in early. Don't push your luck here. Because, like we saw, it's a slip and slide for those who have pushed their luck on those soft slicks. And it's going to cost them big time, as we see them now just getting into the pit stalls, getting tires.
Now, what a nightmare for the top six, as now we have the second half of runners who did make the jump on wet tires. You do see some of the leaders coming out of the pits now, though. So they'll still hold the lead for now, which is very interesting to see. That they had such a gap. They made enough of a gap to still hold on after the pit stop. So 11T's still going to be in the lead with W in second. So it's interesting to see the speed they gained on the soft tires, even with the time they lost at the very end, was still very advantageous compared to just pitting early with the rest. But that choice wasn't advantageous for everyone, as Massive and Pocono are going to get past Trent. B-Dog and on a mission through as well, as now the wet tire cars make the run through everyone else in the pits. 11T and W, the only two drivers to benefit from staying on the soft tires with the gap they already had. But even some of these guys struggle with braking points, as the wet tire conditions at Spa, driving this track in the wet is completely different from driving it in the dry. As you see B-Dog run hard through El Rouge and Radillon, as Mission's going to take advantage of that mistake into 6th place.
Like I said, a lot of these drivers, when you're in a close combat with these drivers in the back and you're in the backpack, it was not a good call for these people in the back to go in. maybe it might have been a good strategy call from 11 and 11T, and I think it can win to actually go on later because they have so much pace. But it also could mean that other people who have followed the same strategy could also actually gotten hurt because of the fact that they did not gain as much as they could to the soft weather, and they also could have wiped out there in the slip and slide rain with the slicks.
As you can see, this fight for third, Massive, Born Peppers, and Pocono, the massive rain trail these guys are leaving into turn 12. Just blinding visibility, pretty much. And these guys are going to have to endure this for a lot of this race until it clears up, hopefully towards the end of this race. But this is going to be the main fight on the track for now. But I will note, even the pit difference with Pocono, or with 11T and W, each of them, I believe, W took the wet tires and 11T took the intermediates as 11T rounds the bus stop chicane. But you see 11T, man, his strategy, I mean, you talked about it before the race, who's going to have the guts to stay on the soft tires longer than everyone else? And that driver was 11T. As you see the massive advantage he gained from that, as now most of these drivers just making their way through Stavolo on the main straight. 11T's already on lap 8 going into the turn 1 hairpin. So that is, yeah, 11T has a 41-second gap to Pocono in third place.
I would like to put a little bit of education here on the track here. As we notice, a lot of the drivers also took wet tires. It's actually a misconception to actually go for the wet tires after going from a dry track into a wet onto a wet track. Actually, you know, the reason why of this is if you go onto the wet tires on a somewhat from a track that was dry to wet, is that the wet tires is designed to help you get through a whole fully damp track that has all the water that's integrated into the concrete or the pavement on the track. And with those drivers, this wet weather has not fully gotten into the into the concrete yet, causing a lot of this, just these drivers on the wet tires actually losing time. As we can see, 11T gaining on, I think he can win here at Spa, because 11T is actually on that intermediate compound. The only thing that the wet tires can actually gain you here at Spa is actually the fact that puddles are a big thing and big factor here at Spa, because the wet tire actually can prevent the car from spinning out going over a puddle, especially if you're hydroplaning to high speed straights. And when you go over that pedal, those wet tires can actually help you and not help you, like, not spin you out, unlike the intermediates that could spin out because there's not as much tread on those intermediate tires.
Very interesting point made, as we see the difference between some of these drivers. But I will say some drivers are handling each tire differently. Some drivers are handling the wets well, some drivers are handling the intermediates well, and some drivers are handling neither tire well either. So it really just comes down to the driver's skill in these conditions, depending how much experience you have in this weather compared to the other drivers. As you see Matt Ward getting through pretty comfortably through turn 10, though you can see how much slower it is to get through on wet tires compared to dry conditions. As you see now, we are in absolute downpour conditions. Rain coming right into our faces and the puddles starting to form. So I will say the wet tires with this much heavy rainfall, I think they may start to come into play much earlier than you'd expect, as you see puddles already forming on the inside of turn 14.
Definitely see all these drivers are in the group. I also want to point out is that these drivers are going to have to try to avoid the spray on these straights, because the spray actually will just like destroy your straight line speed, because the more wind resistance that a spray creates on a car. And if these drivers can avoid each other's spray, they can possibly make an overtake here on these straights that Spa is notorious for.
We've already seen that come into play a few times. And speaking of side-by-side fights, as we get through Joystick Justin's going to go wide in Blanchimont, letting Smoke 1-4 through, and Biaku as well as Joystick Justin falls to the back of the pack, currently. A lot of guys even with their hazard lights on. I don't think that's a bad decision at all, saying, hey, see me, I'm here, in case you can't see me through the spray. As a lot of the struggle as well is going to be the exit through some of these turns. As another thing I'd like to point out, especially coming into turn 3 at the beginning of Eau Rouge, puddles especially will form right there in the racing line where you'd usually take this track flat out. Obviously you can't do that in these conditions, but some people may still try to get the optimal line just to get faced by a massive puddle, as puddling there in turn 3 is rather common, especially in these heavy conditions. One thing I'll say is coming to play as well is you talked about the spray. We talked about going into this race and the slipstream needed on the Kimmel Straight to get the draft from the cars in front, almost Daytona-esque. Now it's pretty much the opposite. Being in the draft, quote-unquote, on the Kimmel Straight, it's only going to hurt you with the spray and dirty air you're going to get with this rain. And even then, with the wet conditions, you're not going to gain that much speed, considering there's not much traction to be had on this track now. As we see people struggling through the 789 Macomb section of the track, down to Rivage, as we see Matt Morrick has a 5/10 penalty in a little bit of a fight 5th, 6th, and 7th, with Mission, Massive, and B-Dog pretty close to each other.
I would like to also make one more point with the spray thing here at Spa. Even though, like, sure, the spray will slow down your car here at Spa, but actually another factor is depending on how close you are to the car in front. If you are actually right to the bumper of the car in the front, or within like 1/10 of a second or half a car length, it's actually faster to be in the draft, because you actually get the benefits from being in the draft without the spray, because the spray won't have enough time to kick up in front of the cars behind it. Instead, it'll just go right underneath the guy behind, and since that guy's right behind, about a car length behind the driver in front of him, he actually gets half of the benefits from being in a slipstream. But still, it's best to stay out of the spray of these cars. The spray of these cars will destroy your race here at Spa.
Very good point made about the distance with slipstream. As we will mention here, coming into lap 9, almost lap 10, halfway through this race, about half an hour in, see the lap times on the right side, how they've just massively fallen off. And that's the difference the rain makes here at Spa. This is already the longest lap time of the season, with 2 minutes 30 on dry, roughly. Now these times are going up into the 3 minute range, as 3 minute flat seems to be the most consistent time here. But you do see the top two still running pretty nicely with 2:59 and 2:58 respectively. W, I actually believe, has the fastest wet condition time currently, with a 2:58.069.
I would also like to point out, as I've been watching these front two runners actually put down some laps and pace, I've been noticing, I think I can W actually slowly closing in on 11T just by a couple seconds every lap. I could see him actually catching 11T, even though he's 12 seconds. At the beginning of the last lap, he was 15 seconds. Now 11T has a less gap of 12 seconds. This might be disastrous, as now we're approaching the point of this track where the wet tires here are actually probably more beneficial than the intermediates, with the intermediates are now surpassing their use of the wet weather or damp conditions. It's more turning into a wet conditions race here at Spa.
Funny you say that. Just speaking of that, through Eau Rouge, Tyro gets the move done on the wet tires with Trent and the intermediates, but he does send it too heavy into turn 5. And Trent, they're in a little bit of a ping-pong battle now, as they're fighting through turns 6, 7, 8, 7, 8, 9, apologies. But Tyro does keep the move done. But again, these guys go heavy into turn 10, and Trent is going to say, how do you do? Thank you for the free position, Tyro, as he's going to get his 9th position back. It's not going to make the run on Matt Morg. Pretty nice fight we have for 8th, 9th, and 10th. But again, with the fight for the lead, it only takes one mistake. Again, you see B-Dog getting loose through Pouon. But Fridge drifting this car through the long left-hander. Good job for him to keep the car together into turn 13.
I do
Holding
have to
on
say
a
though,
6th place.
B-Dog is really brave of running no traction control here at Spa right now in these wet conditions.
Oh, wow.
That is a very brave decision from B-Dog. Without that traction control, he's probably losing just a slight bit. But man, this guy is actually proving that he has a lot of skill in the rain. He said, "Hey man, I don't need this traction control."
As he drifts it through Stavolo.
He's actually just having amazing driving here at Spa with no traction control. Props up for him with no traction control.
Tell you what, I wouldn't have looked down at the traction control button. That's a very astute observation, but no wonder Vito's getting a little loose through these corners.
But he's making it work.
Still 3 minutes solid.
3 minutes is a very good time in the wet.
Actually, as I've been going through the order, there's about 2 other drivers besides B-Dog. 11T being one of the other ones, as well as Trent being another one with no traction control. This is actually quite interesting that these 3 drivers have not decided to go with traction control and think they can actually get faster lap times without it.
And we'll take a look at their times. Trent with a 2:59.3. B-Dog's pass is a 3 minute flat 0.6. And then 11T's obviously is a 2:59.9. Those are the fastest times in wet conditions. So these guys, off of the traction control, really are putting down strong laps still. So especially making it through this track in such wet conditions without the traction control, that might be the most impressive thing that we've seen. But the traction control is saving, I think, W now for wet conditions, as he's always all the way down to a 2:57.8. Really reeling in 11T now, as the gap is down to 10 seconds, now below 10 seconds, as 11T continues to gain time on 11T.
It's going to be a really close one here, I can tell. But I really do think I can win. Can actually get there to 11T with enough time and to spare to actually make a pass. As now he's just absolutely destroying 11T's gap here now. Just making up seconds now instead
really
of just
quick.
mere tenths.
Sorry to interrupt. We have a massive battle breaking out now between 7th through 11th through to turn 10. All of these guys bumper to bumper here as they went side by side on the Kimmel Straight. Now coming into turn 10, can anyone get the move done? No one quite yet. I do see the lead really breaking down, so we'll hop up there in a second. But with this race, 7th through 10th, this is a pretty exciting show right here with the drivers this close in these conditions. But again, it only takes one mistake, one missed brake point, one loss of traction, and it's wraps for one of these drivers until caution comes out at least. But so far, I will say very impressive as well for these drivers to keep from spinning, as I don't think after the first lap fiasco, no one spun out. But we will hop up back to the front now. 11T struggling a little bit through the bus stop. We see, as you pointed out, no traction control and on intermediate tires, as the wet tires are now coming into their groove with more rain on the track. I think this is really hurting 11T. Now his last time was a 3:01. W's last time was a 2:58.2. So W by far running the fastest on this track at the current moment.
You can really tell that I think W has a lot of experience just racing in general, and it's coming into play as he probably made the better call here at Spa with the wet tire against 11T's intermediate tire here. And it seems like it's really paying off. Let's see if he can get the job done and catch up to 11T.
As we see, the gap to Pocono in 3rd is 27 seconds to W and 34 seconds to 11th. So those two are still checked out compared to the rest of the pack after their very advantageous pit strategy coming into fruition, as they just about got it done right at the brink of losing control of the cars. But we see through the rest of the pack, nothing happening too much right now. Some drivers in striking distance, a few other drivers, as we see B-Dog sliding through Radion up into the Kimmel Straight. Still no traction control, still keeping that car solid. Without traction control, he's running a 3-minute flat very consistently. So I will say B-Dog definitely up there for one of the drivers of the day here at Spa, despite being in 6th. Very impressive showing, despite the 5-10 penalty currently on him right now. But let's hop back up to the front as we see a sight that most PRA Wreckfest drivers are crying and having PTSD over right now if they're watching the stream, as I Think I Can W is making a run on the leader. Oh boy. Tell me we haven't heard this story before. So Redline, you're pretty much new here, I will say. So a bit of PRA lore for anyone who's unfamiliar. W has been pretty much the king of Wreckfest for like the past 2 years. As W has, I'd say, of the past 15 seasons we've run in Wreckfest, W's won, I'd say, over 2/3 of the Wreckfest seasons we've had, especially since he joined the league, and he's really been unstoppable. Winner of the PRA Championship last summer, winner of you name it. I talked to W before this race, as he was very excited hopping into GT7, as he just recently got the game, coming over from the Wreckfest side of things, as you see quite a few drivers making the jump from the Wreckfest side to GT7. These drivers will still be competing in Wreckfest, of course, but expanding the horizons, including W here in 2nd. I talked to W, he said he was really uncomfortable, like, he thought he was going to be so far off pace, and I told him, look, this has been a running joke for years now. You say you think you can W. Well, we know you can W. Okay, my guy. So, despite how much he wants to deny it, W coming in yet again, just proving his pace, his first time in a GT7 race in the PRA, and he's running a very solid 2nd and chasing down our championship points leader very consistently, about 2 seconds a lap on 11T. With 7 laps to go, as the conditions are starting to lighten up a bit now. That will maybe be an advantage for 11T with the intermediate tires, but at the current moment, W has reeled in 11T. Let's talk about this. So, after they came out of the pits, and W struggled on the wet tires to start, 11T made a gap. I'd say that gap, I didn't see exactly, we can look back at the footage after this race, but I would say that gap was at least 15 seconds. Now, W has crawled that time down to just 4 seconds. 11T is in clear eyesight, coming through turn 11. And W is still gaining time, as he's run a consistent 258 at least, with a 257 thrown in there for good measure, over the past 5 laps. Can I say that's impressive or what?
It's impressive. I also want to turn your attention for a second, sorry to cut you off, but if we notice, the rain has stopped here at Spa. It stopped for the moment, and the track's drying up here on the racing line here, if you haven't noticed. Might be going back into the intermediate territory here in a second. It might be ready for softs, who knows? We'll never know. This race is starting to spice up now. So the 11T is making more time now. I guess I think I can win now, since the track has dried up slightly.
With the longer laps here, there's more room, potentially time, to hop into the pits for soft tires. We saw the Cooper race last night. With the rain clearing up so late, they're just, in the race itself being so short, there just was not enough time for a pit stop to be beneficial. But here at the longer laps at Spa, someone might take the jump in for softs and potentially gain time, maybe enough time, depending on who makes that jump into the pits first. As we see 11C and W making their way to the bus stop. 11C sends it in way too hard to the bus stop, as W follows in, taking a slower, more conservative line to the bus stop, but 11C really missed his braking point. So W right back in the fight here, as the gap is still at 4 seconds flat. As you see, the lap time's really coming back down now. 11T ran a 2:52, W ran a 2:51. So yeah, you see the time's definitely getting in shape as the dry conditions are coming back now that the dry line is coming back on the track without the rain. But 11T and W may be in the same situation they were in last time, as they're stranded on the track as the track gets drier on wet tires. We're going to see if anyone goes in for slicks this early. B-Dog's not going to do it, still without traction control. Let's see what his lap is going to look like here. I'm going to take a look and see what his lap is here. It's a 2:47, fastest of all the drivers here on this lap so far as the conditions get more favorable for the drivers. No one's still making
like to
jump
point out
yet.
that gauge spray is now almost completely diminished from the cars, making now drafting a viable option now, unlike before in this race.
Really quick, I'm going to point out as well, 3.5 second gap, and 11T just picked up a 5/10 penalty, and especially losing straight on the Kimmel, or not the Kimmel straight, back straight, really, really harmful. One of the worst, least advantageous penalty zones in the entire game, with how long that straight is after Blanchimont, or excuse me, going into Blanchimont after Savoie. So W could take advantage of this, but you see Pocono in third, making the Apple board, Peppers in fourth. Pretty much single fouling right now as everyone's more relying on the cars in front to make mistakes. Smoke 1-4 making a mistake with no one there to pounce behind him. As I really want to keep a look on this top fight. The gap is now expanding again now that 11T's on intermediate tires and the track is drying up. That gap up to 5 seconds now, so we'll see. Biaku's still on wet tires. I was half expecting him to just take the gamble since he's so far back already. Might as well. But 11T takes this penalty. W is on the back straight now himself. That gap is going to come down a bit more. But we'll see. Really, I think someone could pit soon. And will it be one of these leaders? Does W take the gamble before 11T? Considering he's on wet tires and 11T's on the intermediates. We're going to take a look at 11T. On board with 11T. We'll see if he makes the jump into the pits, and he will.
And he does.
He's in. So W's definitely going to follow suit. Yeah, W's going to follow him into the pits. So we're going to see here as some of these guys may take a little bit of fuel. Yeah, 11T's on 5% fuel. Look at 11T's fuel compared to W's. So W's pit time.
This thing's going to get spicy now.
Yeah, W might not have to might not have to take fuel, or at least if he does, he's not going to take as much. So he might be able to jump 11T in the pits.
I guarantee you that these drivers, they're going to go for those soft tires now since this track is dried up just enough for them to actually make enough time.
Pocono stays out on the intermediates. Boring Peppers is in off the wet tires. Let's do a little bit of a pit road check as we see the drivers coming through Blanchimont into the bus stop. See who comes in. Tyro staying out on wets. Trent staying out on intermediates. B-Dog staying out on intermediates. On a mission staying out on wets. A lot of these guys staying out besides the leaders. So a lot of these guys are thinking, hey, 11T and W had this massive gap. We've got to do something different to catch these guys. As Boring Peppers is the only driver other than 11T and W to come in for softs. Other than Matt Morg. Matt Morg is now in. Joystick Justin staying out. As these guys on wet tires are starting to struggle a little bit, obviously. Losing grip. But we do see 11T and W coming out of the pits. Let's see who comes out first.
It's going to be a close one.
As W's out of the pits first. 11T beat out W out of the pits. And W is on the racing softs as W is now going to have some work to do to get past all these wet tire drivers. In 7th place, these guys are going to put up a fight. Massive, the first one to fight with Boring Peppers and Matt Moore coming out of the pits themselves. But all these wet tire drivers really now trying to defend off the guys on the racing softs. Ooh. W loses the back end, but hold on. What a save from W.
You can't touch, remember, when you're on those softs, you cannot touch the curbs, because if you touch those curbs, you're just going to lose so much time and so much grip. Those curbs are going to be slippery as heck right now. As we can see, drivers might actually use the curbs to try to spray something in front of the cars behind, just to try to give them a little bit more air resistance to try to see if they can keep it in front of them.
As WCC, he has, well, his grip is struggling as he bangs into the wall in turn 11, and he can't get through there. So right now, it's really a no man's land for tires. The wet tires aren't good, the soft tires aren't good. But the soft tires are going to be coming more into their own as the race comes on. But W's really struggling to adjust back to these softs. As 11T, not so much as 11T's catching. And 11T makes it pretty smooth through Pouon. Now catching W for probably the proverbial lead as W comes onto the track. A little bit of contact. 11T makes it past though as 11T gets past W. But we're now going to see if the other drivers on the intermediate tire drivers may still be at advantage right now, to be quite honest. not for too much longer, but at the current moment, that might be the case. But we do see if the drivers who stayed out one more lap will be able to take advantage of this, as now Pocono's going to stay out still on the intermediates.
Notice that Pocono also has a lot more fuel than any other driver I've seen right now of the front pack that was running this entire race the entire time. Pocono actually might have the strategy here on the intermediate tires, keeping a lot more grip and keeping it safe and just keeping the position.
Yeah, most of these guys who are on the wet tires are staying on them for now, wets and intermediates. As I will say, a lot of these drivers. Let's catch. Yeah, 11T spun around out of Blanchimont. Out of the exit of Blanchimont, 11T lost grip into the bus stop, so he completely lost the back end, probably catching a tip of the grass as W's going to get back past him again into 8th place. It's going to be a very interesting end of the race, since a lot of these drivers up front may have to pit again, but you see these mistakes from 11T and W struggling on these soft tires. So this is going to be a really fascinating end of this race. I don't know who's going to win this right now. I can't even call W the unofficial leader right now, since a lot of these wet tire drivers might stick out for the rest of this. Well, we do have someone diving into the pits. It is Biaki towards the back. Again, these back marker drivers currently, they're so far behind, they don't really lose that much by going in at this point. Take the gamble. Might as well.
Also, note, the racing line is now officially completely dry. It is completely dry, so these wet drivers are going to be actually losing a lot of time. These drivers who are, however, on the slicks, though, they're going to have to make sure they stay on this racing line. They cannot leave it, because if the moment they leave it, we've seen it with 11T.
As you see with Trent.
It with Isaac Wynn.
Look like
they absolutely go off the track.
As you see Trent still in the intermediates, trying to take as much of the non-dry line as he can, going into turn 10, trying to keep the tires wet and the grip high on these tires. Pocono still trying to hold on to the lead. For sure, these drivers must be coming into this lap now. But let's see if the gap here is enough to hold on from W. W has a 5/10 penalty coming into turn 12. Pouon is he's going to run wide again. He can't get Pouon right now as he slides into the barrier on his own. And let's see where 11T is. He's coming through Pouon himself. He has the grip to get through the corner. So yet again, these two drivers meeting right back up together as we have less than 5 laps remaining. Joystick just from the 5/10 penalty as well. So Pocono, our leader at the current moment. Wow, this is going to get tight. So we're going to lap 3 of pit road frenzy check. Pocono is not making the jump in. Let's check on Trent. I think at this point these guys are just taking the gamble that no pit stop at all is going to be faster than taking a pit stop at this point of the race. Since losing the time on the pit stop, they don't think they're going to gain enough time back from the soft tires with 4 laps to go, and they still have the wet parts of this track to hang on to. And you see a lot of these
drivers on the racing softs, they're really gaining time now on the leaders.
You do see, though, that most of these drivers are trying to stay off of the dry line. Massive is going to make the jump in for soft tires. We're going to see an experiment with Massive to see if it works. Right now, Mission and Smoke 1-4 fighting over 5th place out of La Source onto the straight leading up to El Rouge. We're going to see if either of them make a move. Joystick Justin in 7th, 11T in 8th, and W right behind him. So these racing soft drivers definitely are going to have the speed advantage, but the question is, can they keep the mistakes to a minimum with how wet the track still is at some points, especially off of the dry line?
Ooh, I think W really made a gamble there. It looks like it's going to pay off now.
Yeah, he has an amazing run onto 11T out of El Rouge. He's going to get the run out the Kimmel Straight. He's going to get the overtake on the outside of 11T and take 8th place from 11T as he now sets a purple sector for the race. They make contact! They make contact into turn 7. 11T's going to make the undercut yet again on 11T. 11T runs wide and gets stuck on the curb with the lack of traction, and W's going to make the move 4-8 solid now. But let's see if he can stay consistent through turn 12 yet again, as Pouon's been a very tough part of the track for him these past few laps. Let's see if third time's the charm getting through turn 12. As he's eyeing out Joystick Justin now, the first driver in front of him on the intermediate tires. Mission on the wet tires in front, trying to take as much of that wet line as possible. Smoke 1-4 in front as well, B-Dog in front of them.
And he's off again.
Yeah, W's off again. He cannot get the corner right. He's fully around into the barrier, and 11T takes the position from him into 8th place. Unfortunate break for W. 3 times in a row, just can't get the corner right. But 11T's had his struggles of his own on these soft tires. But I think the soft tires, in theory, are the best choice here. But if you can keep the car on the track, and so far these two drivers have not been able to do that really. As you see Pocono, the main advantage haver right now. Yeah, he's going to stay out for the rest of this race in the intermediates. He has a 6-second gap to Trent in 2nd, Tyro in 3rd.
Let's see if Levity can really close that 32-second gap. It's going to be a really tough one to be able to pull it off, but he has to be perfect. He cannot mess up any of these corners going around this track. If he messes up one single corner, it could be over for him.
Indeed, you see Smoke 1-4 coming through the bus stop. On a mission coming through the bus stop. Joystick Justin get a little loose coming through the bus stop himself. 11T on the back of this train now. In 8th, looking to trail these guys down. W back in 10th. Has some time to make up now. But it's possible he might make it up since he did really well on the wet tires. But back on the dry tires having a bit of a tough time. 11T now on the back of Justin and Mission. We're going to see if these soft tires can get it done through Eau Rouge and Radion onto the Kendall Straight. As 11T, obviously the smart decision is to take it easy, don't push himself too much. But now he's going to have an amazing run on Justin and Mission. And he's going to have the draft from Justin as well. Mission taking the wet line. It's going to be 2 wide, maybe even 3 wide. Let's see if 11T wants to make it happen. Not going to make it happen. Going to get outside of the Mission, though. Going to get the done on Mission. Going to get it done. And Justin runs 2 wide into the inside. 11T gets past him as well. Now on the tail of Smoke 1-4. 11T really starting to make a charge up through this pack.
As you notice, that dry line has now got a little bit wider, offering 11T to actually get more ability to make more turns and make more passes now, as those drivers on the wet tires are now going to be struggling to actually keep up with these racing softs now.
As you see this in practice, had the traction to get the run past Smoke 1-4 and B-Dog running wide out of turn 12. LMT making the move up to 4th place. And his time is down into the 230s now, yet again, back of the 230s. With all 3 of these top drivers in the 240s, Trent is running 238 on intermediate tires. So that's pretty impressive time for intermediate tires, but he does run wide out of Blanchimont into the last turns. Let's see if 11T has enough time. He has 2 laps to do this. So that's about 5 minutes of time to game. Or 5 minutes to game time. And he has a 26-second gap to Pocono, 9 seconds to Tyro. Oh, 11T does lose on the curb out of Blanchimont, but he holds on. Pretty much amazing save from 11T. That could have been disastrous for 11T, but he held on. Boring Peppers, now on the Racing Softs himself, he was one of the guys who made the pits alongside with 11TW. He's on 11T's tail, making the pass by B-Dog himself. He has a 5/10 penalty, but he's really trying to trail down 11T here, as 11T's times aren't really that strong considering he's on the soft tires. Only 234s right now, really struggling to adjust. I mean, I know... Yeah, Boring Peppers is off out of turn 9. I was just about to praise Boring W with this, or Boring Peppers, wow, with his consistent fast time. but makes a slip up out of turn 9 and you know right on his tail.
I think you jinxed it, man.
Can you commentators curse a commentator? I guess you can.
All the drivers now are just getting in the rhythm now. Once again, the track's almost fully dry, and we can see these drivers are just pretty much really well spaced out. There's not much left happening here as we're about to ready to approach the white flag here at Spa.
Indeed, as we have 11 now making the run out on Tyro. Through Stavolo onto the back straight. He's going to have the grip to do it. Gets past Tyro into a podium position for himself, into 3rd place. And take a look at times. Unless Pocono and Trent make mistakes, I don't think 11T is going to have enough time to make that massive gap up in this one lap. But Pocono does take the white flag, as Pocono taking the gamble to stay out on the wet tires despite seeing the leaders come in for soft tires. So, very bold choice for Pocono.
I'd also like to point, Trent is having a pretty phenomenal showing here at Spa too.
Indeed, he is. Trent doing very well in his own right. 11T making the run back up in 3rd.
Seems like I think W is out of fuel.
Let's take a look. Yeah, W ran out of fuel, so he came into the pits. He wanted to get the jump on 11T earlier, took the gamble. He thought he could make it to the end on fuel, but clearly he made a miscalculation, as W is going to have to come into the pits for fuel. Thankfully, he was by pit road when he ran out of fuel. Taking a look around for the fuel, some of these other drivers, a lot of these drivers running low on fuel. As we're going to see if everyone even makes it to the end of this race, as everyone's running on red. This might be an interesting end considering the fuel totals here, but Pocono, looks like Pocono will have just enough juice in the tank as long as he keeps his car steady around these corners, but 11T is making one final charge on these top 2. Let's see if 11T can make the run up on these guys and get it done. His time is a lot more comparable of his standard purple time with the 2:28, back down to around 2:30 mark, but it's too little too late for him to become this consistent. We'll see as 11T is going to be on the back of Trent. He might have a run at Trent through Blanchimont to the bus stop chicane.
Let's see if he can get one more position here.
As Trent is struggling, he's really low on fuel. He's probably fuel saving, so 11T might have the run on Trent. He really might. Pocono up in the lead. He should have the gap. But let's take a look at 11T. Catching up Trent, he might try to make the move into the bus stop chicane. We're going to see if he has significant, well, they're even on speed, but he might have the traction through Blanchimont.
And he does.
Let's see.
It might be a dive bomb.
Pocono is about to take us to the checkered flag. 11T on the tail of Trent. He might get it done. Makes contact with Trent. Pocono takes the win. Drag race to the finish. Trent's going to hold on for 2nd. 11T takes 3rd. But what an amazing performance from 11T. Boring Peppers is going to come in 4th as we get the rest of the pack starting to file in on the back straight. Tyro in 5th. B-Dog in 6th. Smoke in 7th. Justin in 8th, out of fuel himself. As a lot of these guys are really running low on fuel to the end, but making it through. What a job by these guys. As we do see one overtake getting done as Matt Moore's going to get past on a mission, as on a mission's pretty much out of fuel himself and on struggling tires. Matt Moore on the racing softs. Matt Moore's going to take 9th from mission, and those two will round out the top 10. As W barely survives with enough fuel, he's going to make his way around. Unfortunately, despite his very strong performance, only going to get a 12th out of it, but I'm just going to say a round of applause to W. I mean,
absolutely astounding for his first ever race here.
Yeah, this season, honestly, he wasn't going to compete this season, coming in late. So it was more, make the best impression you can, considering he is pretty much the best of Rackfest. And he made a very strong impression, I'm going to say for sure, as we watch him come around on the final lap. And we're going to see who exactly we get into this interview broadcast booth, as I'm looking to pull in quite a few people, as considering what a race. As hang tight, everyone, we're going to see who we get into the booth here. Pocono is going to join us first. Redline, do you want to take away the interview with Pocono for the most part?
Well, Pocono, congratulations on your win, man. It was a marvelous race there you had out there today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, I have to give you praise for your strategy today. I mean, you really went for those intermediates. It seems like that you were losing a lot of time there when the wets were actually starting to become more prevalent, though. But you actually managed to get it back, and it seems like you had a great strategy. What was your original strategy to begin with here at Spa?
Yeah, that was my strategy, just to stay out until it started raining or when it was unbearable. I wasn't sure if I could make another lap. I saw a lot of the field stayed out, so I decided to pit, and hopefully it would rain and they would lose traction. But they didn't, but it still worked out. I had to save a lot of fuel because of pitting a lap early, though. I think Trent didn't have to save any fuel, he said, so that extra lap, I had to be on three or four the rest of the race after I pitted, and it worked out.
Well, it seems like it worked out in your favor as you took the win here tonight at Spa. Well, I also like to make the point as, were you uncertain at some point in the race where you were actually going to filter out here at Spa, or was it like you knew your strategy was good enough that you're going to win, or halfway through the race that there was a big confusion of where actually everyone was going to be? But what was your thoughts going through that?
Oh, there was a lot of confusion because I wasn't sure if 11T could make it to the end of the race, and once I saw him pit, I didn't think it would take more than 35 seconds to pit, but it did, and I got about 12 seconds on him, and I think he took the wrong tire, he said. I think he took soft, and he couldn't hang on, and he fell back a good amount, and then at the end, he made a good charge and almost got to me. He almost got past Trent. I think Trent got second, and I think if he had one more lap, I think he would have gotten me for sure, because I think he was probably running 12 seconds faster than me, around that at least.
Well, I have to say one last time, congratulations, man. It was a stellar performance here at Spa. Me and ADY had a really good, enjoyable time. And, well, it'll be your third win of the season, man. Congratulations. That's one big feat here.
Yeah, I'm very surprised. I'm not used to winning. I've raced in so many PRA races, and that's my third win of my career, and it's been all three this season, so I'm happy with it.
Really? Well, I'm just going to butt in. I mean, we've both been here forever. That's honestly a shocker to me. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's my third official PRA race. I have won some off-season races, but that was my third official one.
Well, congrats to you, man. I did not realize that. So I don't really have much more to add than what Redline said. I don't have any. He answered pretty much all the questions I have. So I'm just going to say congrats one more time to you. And
thank you.
I will point out, coming into, I believe will be the last week of the season, I'm going to point out, looking at the championship standings as an announcement to the audience and to you, is that our point standings are going to be very tight.
Yep.
I believe, if I'm doing the math correct, 11T is going to hold on to the lead due to his fastest lap bonus, but it's going to be by 1 point.
Mm-hmm.
So you two will be 1 point separated going into the last race of the season at Grand Valley.
Yep, it's going to be exciting. Well, one last time, congratulations. Have a good night, man. We'll see you next week, man. It'll be one hell of a race between you and 11T to see who comes out on top here in this championship.
Yep, it will. Thank you, guys. You guys do a great job.
Thank you. As we're going to close out here tonight, be sure to join us here at the same time tomorrow night, back at Spa for the Elite Series race, closing out this week of action, and with 1 week left to go. Next week, the Sportsman Series will be headed to the Northern Isle Speedway, with the Challenger and Elite Series heading to the full course of Grand Valley Highway. So be sure to check us out there for the last season of the inaugural stock series here on the PRA network. Be sure to subscribe to stay tuned with all the action and with reminders of all of our races going forward. 81 here, joined with Redline, about to sign out. Goodbye, everyone.
See ya.